Alrighty, we're back for 5-1, continuing lecture. All right, so it asked us to list all the outcomes in the sample space using a tree diagram. So I did that while we were away. It took me a while, but I did it with my Google drawing here. So there's heads, and after you roll the heads, you could get a 1, 2, 3, or 4 on the four-sided die. Or there's tails, and you could get 1, 2, 3, 4. And the sample space itself is actually this list over here. You're just using the tree diagram to organize yourself. So it's heads 1, heads 2, heads 3, and so on. All right? Cool. I'm not going to put that in there. Just trust that it's there. All right, what is the probability of getting a heads and a 3? Well, let's see. Heads and 3 was this option right here out of the total of 8 different outcomes, right? So that means it's 3 over 8. All right, what was the probability of rolling a 3? Well, a 3 happened either here with heads 3 or here with tails 3. So that would be 2 out of 8. Cool. Oh my gosh, I'm so wrong. Come back. Heads and a 3. I'm losing my mind. A heads and a 3. Heads and a 3 only happened in one place, right? So that's 1 out of 8. I'm losing my brain. All right. Next, last but not least, and we're finished with 5-1, subjective probabilities. Now, subjective probabilities are probabilities that are based basically on educated guesses, personal judgment. Okay. Now the thing about and I can't believe I have this written twice. That was kind of stupid of me. Let me delete that right now. All right. So the thing about subjective probabilities is sometimes the guess is legitimate, sometimes they're not. I mean, sometimes people are really good at making guesses. For example, oh, I even put it down here. Oh no, I guess I didn't. So let me put it this way. When you are watching the Oscar coverage for the Academy Awards, if I'm just an industry insider gives you speculation on who's going to win the Oscar for this year, that would be a much better guess than going to Joe Schmo off the street, right? So they're both making educated guesses, but some are more educated than others, if that makes sense. The other thing to keep in mind is that subjective probabilities have to happen a lot of the time, because a lot of times there's no good way to repeat an experiment. In other words, there's no classical structure for it. It's not dice and cards and games and stuff like that. So it can't be done classically, but there's no evidence because it just hasn't happened yet. When that happens, for whatever reason, you have to kind of make an educated guess about what you think your chances are. So, for example, I don't know, I get stuck in a cave somewhere. What are my chances of survival? It's not like I'm going to be stuck in a cave multiple times in my life. So I can't really make an empirical guess. I can only make a subjective guess as to the probability of me making it out alive. All right, so let's look at these. During the World Series of Poker broadcast on ESPN, one gambler is given an 88% chance of winning the hand, and the number is placed on the screen above their name. I love watching that stuff on ESPN. That is totally a classical probability. Okay, ESPN has a computer that figures out, based on what cards were dealt and what the person has, what their chances are winning. It just all is done. They have a model that figures out every classical probability possible and does it. All right, now the probability that the Red Sox will beat the Yankees in their next game. Well, that's kind of a gray area, right? So you kind of can argue it a couple ways. You could say it's empirical because we have a lot of evidence about the Yankees versus the Red Sox based on past experiments. But the other issue is that one game is not really repeatable. But I would argue this is probably more empirical, right? Based on past games. Or you could argue that it's subjective because this particular lineup has never met before. This particular lineup, day, temperature, etc., has never happened before and will never happen again. Every day is unique. The last one, the Red Cross thing, is totally empirical. Red Cross collects data. They know that 7% of the population is O negative, so it's all empirical.